So, just start by telling me, about your job at the brewery, kind of, what it is.
Okay. So my title here is Director of Communications and Social Strategy. And I really just do exactly that, manage the communications and social media channels, content plating, that kind of thing. And I guess also like the response to people that reach out to us via social media as well.
Okay, yeah. See, that's kind of what I want to do. I want to get into a little of the PR, like almost marketing kind of stuff. Because I mean, the things that you talked about in class, it sounds really interesting. Um, so, like, how long have you worked there?
I got involved with the brewery, let's see, it's like spring of 2018, so about 2 years.
Okay. Um, so, like, what's your favorite part about working there?
Um, hmm. I think it's really fun to kind of see something built in the community that is a really important historical piece, but also is kind of set up to be able to move into the future and push Natchitoches forward as far as that goes. I think one of the, at least from my impression, one of the things that happens in Natchitoches is that the historic element of our city is extremely important because of the fact that we're the oldest settlement and blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But and that is definitely something that we need to preserve. But at the same time, sometimes I think that people see like forward progress as like working against that historic component.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that's so cool about the brewery is that it is a historic landmark. The building that it's currently in was built in 1940. And because it's a historic landmark, that means that when we were redoing the building itself, we didn't really make too many structural changes to it. It was really just like kind of updating what was already there. And so I think that already people have come to Natchitoches simply just to visit the brewery, so it's contributed to the tourism industry in that way. It's also functioned as a community gathering place for a lot of people in town, and not just for coming to see live music or things like that, but also like graduations, birthdays, anniversaries, different things like that. People are choosing the brewery as the space that they want to have those things in. And that really means a lot to us, just because we know that they could choose to have those like really momentous, like personal moments anywhere, and they're choosing to have them in our space. And so I think probably those elements are like my overall favorite things about it. As far as like my day-to-day job, I think probably creating content that kind of functions as like a storytelling element for what I've been working on and what the guys have been working on and stuff like that. I think that's probably like my favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I don't really like, there's not very much about it that I dislike. So it's a little bit of a tough question to answer. But,
yeah, because I mean, the way that you talk about it, it seems like you really like it. Like, it's a fun job.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, how has your job changed with everything that's happened with COVID-19?
So the brewery kind of shifted focus to make hand sanitizer. We haven't brewed since all of this started. When you're making beer, you brew it and it has to ferment for a period of time. And so that's anywhere from like 14 to 30 days, depending on what kind of beer it is. So all of the beer that we have now on site, whether it's been kegged or canned or it's still in one of the tanks, was all brewed before all of this started. And so So we've started, so obviously we're not bringing anything else because we don't know when this is going to end, and we don't have anywhere should we brew more beer, we don't have anywhere for it to go because restaurants and bars are closed. That's our main avenue of distribution. And then we can't have people into the tap room, and so we're kind of stuck there. But so we saw this need for hand sanitizer in the community for first responders, essential personnel, and also just like, the average person. And we've had... we saw other breweries doing similar stuff across the country, so we kind of looked into it to see, if this was something that we could facilitate, and it was. So we've started doing that. So that's been kind of our main focus. We've had some news coverage from it, a couple of TV interviews and some radio, and so because of that, we're getting people from all over North Louisiana calling us or contacting us via social media or email to ask if they can, purchase the hand sanitizer or if they can have it donated, because we do have that option for the community to donate money, and then we'll provide hand sanitizer to first responders free of charge.
Wow,
So,
that's really amazing.
because of that, we've had just like a ton of people reaching out. And so the main way that my job has changed is just that I have to kind of budget more time to respond to people in a timely manner and just kind of, keep their requests organized, find an efficient way to answer the same message over and over again, but without it sounding like a stock message and like that kind of thing, because the authenticity factor is really important to us. And there's a feature in Messenger where you can save responses so that if you're answering the same question over and over again, you don't have to retype it every time. You can just like click this option, select the response. But I'll still, even if I do that for like the core of the message, I'll still write like a unique intro, like, like, hey, Savannah, thanks for your message, like something like that at the beginning, just to kind of, make sure that they don't feel like we're just clicking a button and sending a message out to them. So that's been like probably the main way that my day-to-day has changed. Also, one of the challenges is that we've had to be a little bit more creative and intentional with our content that we do post, just because you can only post a beer can like so many times, and we don't want our page to look like just a news feed of beer cans. But normally we're able to, like, not that the content normally dictates itself, but when we have like events going on and stuff, it does provide like a lot of the creative avenue for us. And so we'll have like bands, and then like maybe a picture of a beer that we're releasing, and then maybe a picture of the equipment or something like that. And now we kind of really just have our products and our facility. And so it's kind of going back to the challenge of summer of 2018 when we were trying to develop our social media following, but we didn't have beer, we didn't have cans, we didn't have anything except the building. And so in some ways it's more challenging, but in some ways I like it more because it's not such an obvious like solution. And so you really do have to dig into your creativity and say, okay, like, how can I make this thing that is maybe not that interesting or impressive or is kind of ordinary? How do I make this something that when people look at it, it's going to catch their attention and they're going to want to stay on this post for a little bit and read about what we have going on?
Yeah.
So
I feel like that fits you very well because you're very creative, and I feel like that's probably something that just comes easy to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really try my best at it, but yeah, it's just kind of like how my brain normally thinks. So it kind of just happens. But yeah.
Okay. What will you remember most about like working through this, historic, coronavirus pandemic?
Oh man. I think that it's like, well, definitely one of the weirdest times of like our whole lives probably. But I think the thing that I will remember is maybe like two things. One, just like how much people went out of their way to like help other people, or provide resources. So whether that's like online teaching organizations, like making their stuff free for the duration of quarantine, or like people in my neighborhood, like mowing lawns for other people just because like they want to help out and they have the time to do it, or people fostering dogs because they're home more, and like, things like that. So I think that's one of the things I'll remember for sure. And then also I think that kind of the reminder that even though we normally have access to a lot of stuff and we have a lot of places to spend our money and like do all these kinds of things, when it comes down to it, you don't literally need all of that stuff to be happy. And I think one of the things that this time is like forcing us to do is to like, use stuff that we already have in our house to like do an art project, or like be really intentional about who we reach out to and maintain relationships with and stuff like that. And I think that I hope that some of that stuff that I've learned about myself, and just sort of reminders, like not necessarily all things that I never knew, but just things that you forget when you're so busy and caught up all the time. I hope some of that, like, I guess, sticks after this is over, because I think that sometimes we get so busy, like working really hard to meet other people's expectations and to go from one thing to the next, that you kind of lose sight of like being present or making sure that even all the effort you're putting in is in a direction that you actually want to go. So.
Okay. Well, that was, you pretty much answered every question that I had. Thank you for your time.
Cool.
I really miss your class. So
I
sad.
know. I miss you guys so much. It's like every email like that people send me, even they're just like, hey, what was that class number again? I'm like, it was this. I miss having you in class, and I hope you're doing so well. It's fun driving it. Because it's like, I don't know, it's just so crazy. The whole thing was weird. And we never really got to say goodbye to you guys either, because it happened so fast, which was like the main thing.
Yeah, that was really sucky.
And it took me like a week to realize. I was like, wait a minute, I'm never going to see like these classes again, like
I know.
So, like, obviously for a lot of you guys, like, I'll have you in some class again, but you get these, like, unique, like, groupings of people and things like that, and every class kind of has its own dynamic, so
Yeah, its own vibe.
that part's kind of sad that we had to, like, end that so quickly, but
All right. Well, thank you for your time.